everybody. This is Dan, finally back in Japan, but don't think that I'm actually speaking to you telepathically. I'm really speaking. That's just a still image of me, so don't worry about it. You're not having a bad trip or had too much to drink or too little to drink or whatever. That really is a still image of me. I know it's really mesmerizing, but the internet today is just not the best in the glorious mountains of Japan. So we're just going to do audio for me. But I do have Alex, aka Kushti, with me, who's also either speaking to you telepathically or with no video. And we do have the better looking of the group, Joe, on video for you, just so that so that you can feel calm that one of us is really, using the 21st century technology to come to you with video and, this whole video phone thing that everybody was talking about back in the 20th. So say hi to everyone, Joe and Alex.
Hey. Good morning, everybody. It's like 7 a.m. here, so excuse me if I'm still waking up. Excited to, talk to the community, take some questions. I figure we'll kick it off with the big news, right? We finally got all the scores in for Ergo Hack, so it'd probably be a good idea to cover that. It looks like the first place winner was Ergo Tizen, which is the Node project. The second was Sigma O, which was a options project, and the third place with Lithos with their mining project. I know that really close to Lithos, number 4 was Ilium, which is an NFT mentor. And so usually I try to pick a project that I kind of personally donate to from Ergo Hack. So I'm going to pick Ilium on my side. So I'm going to give them some reward because I think they did a great job. It's really great turnout from Ergo Hack 6. A lot of neat videos. I hope a lot of the people that contributed, continue developing their project. There's a lot of great ideas out there. So I probably came in last place myself, but I kind of ran out of time. So, oops. How are you doing today, Alex?
Hi, everyone. I'm doing well. Following Sigma O, they just started Twitter, so please follow and please start testing if you are interested in options on Ergo. Looks very interesting indeed. Also reviewed new contracts for Sigma Phi just yesterday. So with those new contracts, there will be a new functionality to offer a loan. So you can offer someone to borrow via creating a bond. And a lot of other news I see in the community. So checked a great Paideia review today by an Ergo Post guy. I've forgotten his name, unfortunately. Myself published a couple of new posts on the forum, with some contracts I made recently. One is about checking Schnorr's signature in a contract. There was old contracts on the forum, but in reality, so Rosen guys and then me and Chain Cash are using a little bit different contract, and I also provided off-chain code to simplify writing it, as there are some tricky details here. And so another contract is about buying back tokens from liquidity pool. I think another contract showing composability for free in Ergo contracts. Without modifying existing Spectrum pool contracts and Oracle Pool 2.0 contracts, it is now possible to make a new contract which is connecting them with also some protocol which can buy tokens, Oracle rewards tokens in my case, back from liquidity pool using fees being paid to the contract, and then sending tokens bought back to the Oracle pool. Probably a new level in building DeFi schemes. Complexity grows as well as interesting applications. Hopefully. All right. A lot of news in regards with developments. There was pretty intense developers chat yesterday, but it will be covered in a Sunday video, right?
Yep.
Yeah, lots of good stuff happening. We got stuff coming out from all ends. Well, except Joe. What's up, Joe? What happened? I was kind of looking forward to seeing some of that Dexy stuff.
I've been busy, man, off chain, but hopefully I'll get, let's say, more into the crypto space in the coming weeks.
Yeah, come on, we need you. We need you. So anyway, from my end, I've had a pretty busy couple of weeks. Been traveling for Zengate and basically in I guess by proxy for Ergo, because this is going to utilize Ergo. Again, just it's very interesting. Well, it kind of it's almost going to prove it goes to prove my theory that I've had that really, if you don't lead with tech first, if you just kind of lead with utility and say that's what it does, a lot of users, I mean, they don't really care what ledger is being utilized, and that's not a bad thing, because really of course, sooner or later you're gonna come to a technical audit, and you're gonna have to explain this, and at that point, you have a much better chance of reaching somebody who actually understands DLT technology, and you can explain to them why you're using this particular protocol, and have much better success at it versus just speaking to the average person who's not in the space and just telling him, well, we're going to use Ergo. It's like, well, why not Bitcoin, or why not blah, 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 whatever chain that they heard about. So by actually not really kind of leading with Ergo, but leading with utility, and Ergo is just, is just a prerequisite of what we're doing. I mean, it's there. It's on Ergo. That's not really even the thing that you kind of negotiate or discuss. That actually really puts you in a position where you don't really have to worry about, are they going to be okay with using it or not? Not really. So to others, I would recommend taking the same approach. If you are designing, if you're basically building on Ergo and you're looking to do mass adoption, just going into the non-blockchain sphere with your product, I would always suggest leading with tech and just saying, just, it runs on Ergo. That's what it does. It runs on that. And that's what we use. And, there is no like, well, which blockchain would you rather use? It's like, that's what we use. And so I think that's the best way for us to get mass adoption of the tech, is just to basically build products that people use, everyday people use, and in the back, Ergo runs it. So that's been happening. Also have been kind of working more on different options for ecosystem funding. That's been, it's an ongoing process, but we have some interest, and we are discussing. So, and these discussions will continue this week and next week with various entities. So that's really exciting. And of course, making our way in through the listing process. Well, basic, not listing process, but working with other exchanges to potentially list Ergo, but more importantly, actually starting conversations with exchanges about utilizing Rosen, which is really exciting. And that's actually, I think, is an easier sell in some ways. And I think it's a pretty exciting sell for us as a community. So those are conversations that we're having with some exchanges and potential partners right now, and hopefully these will come to fruition, and we will in fact utilize Rosen with various different exchanges and other entities. So that's about it from my end. Joe, remind me, did we get to Kushti yet?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's maybe do some questions. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's what I'm here for.
That is what we're all here for, actually, I believe. All right, let's see. Okay, just give me 1 second. All right. Okay, so guys, I'm gonna grab the questions, but I'm not sure if it'll show up on your end. So if it doesn't, just the questions they read out, why don't you just click on them so the community sees what we're talking about?
All right, I can do that.
All right. Well, Joe Holton says that I'm actually live and will suddenly move. There is a chance of that. There is, but slim to none. Let's take this one question from Wendy Moon. So Wendy asks, question for all, in terms of ecosystem growth, technical achievements, community size, do you think Ergo is behind or ahead of schedule, or is it where you thought it would be at this point in time? So I will tackle this first, and then why don't you, Joe and Alex, chime in on this? So, look, really, ecosystem growth is not really something that, people do try to clock it by this time, we're going to have this many community members, this many projects, blah, 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 blah. And by this time, we're going to, try to quantify it. And I just don't think that's the right way to go about it. You can't really, just truly, I guess, put precise numbers on grassroots ecosystem growth, which is essentially what Ergo is. It's not a VC chain. It's not, it's a fair launch project. It's not one of these projects that raised $100 million or $1 billion, something like that, before it launched. So it's all grassroots. With grassroots, it's all about it's all about critical mass. It's almost like it reminds me of this. If you guys are familiar with the ion engine for space flight, so it basically builds up on itself, right? So it starts off kind of slow, but it builds up momentum. So eventually it could actually travel almost at the speed of light. And essentially, that's how I think of this ecosystem. We just need to keep building and building it up and building it up. And sooner or later, we will reach a critical mass where it's going to, just going to go stratospheric. And in a way, it is already doing that. So as far as technical achievements, I believe that, from what I've seen of for my tenure at Ergo, I think the technical achievements have been fantastic. I think we've done a lot. The core updates are great. The tech that's coming out from the community and the tooling coming out from the community is great. We have a lot more tooling than many, many other ecosystems. Rosen, another awesome achievement, very unique to our ecosystem. So I think on a technical side, I think we're doing really well. Community size is, again, not something that I would like to quantify. It's like, well, it should be this and not this. We'd always like more, but what we want is quality. I think one of the great things about the Ergo ecosystem is that it's a very high quality ecosystem. We have, I believe, some of the highest concentration of just, good, solid people per unit of whatever of many other ecosystems. Just really, really tuned in, really switched on people that are here to, to build, that are here to participate, that are not here for, for moon or wind. Well, no offense, windy moon. And of course, during the bull run, I'm sure we'll get some of the moon boys in here. But again, even during the bull run, I don't remember there being that many moon boys compared to other chains and other protocols out there. So community size, I believe that we are where we're supposed to be. It might be not as satisfying for some people because they think we should be bigger, and we should, and we will. But I think we are doing really well from that end. And just in general ecosystem growth. Actually, I'm very. I'm very happy just with the ecosystem growth that I've seen in the past year and a half that I've been in the ecosystem. And it's not just me. It's very noticeable. We got a lot more building. Ergo hacks are much bigger now. We have, we have a lot more projects that are being started in the ecosystem. So ecosystem growth is good. And again, it's just all about time. It will reach its critical mass where it's just going to go exponential. And at that point, you're going to say, well, wow, this growth is really huge compared to where we were a year ago, but it doesn't mean that a year ago we were not doing good. It's the same with technology. They had the Industrial Revolution bring all this different technological change within a really short amount of time, but before that, for hundreds of years, a lot of people were using basically the same technologies mostly. It doesn't mean that there wasn't progress during that time. It just means that that particular side of progress, technological progress, wasn't as booming as it was as it was during the Industrial Revolution. So it's just a matter of time. But that's really my thoughts on that. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how you would schedule that. Like ecosystem growth is kind of comes and goes in waves in this space, right? I guess market sentiment tends to be the best marketer, right? And so, there's always a tendency to have like a mass influx of people, and then, I guess, on the downside of the wave, which I guess we're doing now in the macro side. All engagement is down, right? In terms of technical achievements, that's probably more linear. One nice thing about Ergo is we have a ton of open source stuff that's composable. So that tends to create more of an acceleration in terms of how things are developed. And I think that as we continue to create foundational aspects, not just, the Ergo Foundation, but there's a lot of community developers who are doing amazing work in terms of, creating composable designs that are open source that other people can use. I think that's probably the biggest driver for actual innovation and growth. Community size tends to ebb and flow in terms of engagement. I'm pretty happy with how the ecosystem's going. I think that in crypto, sometimes there's these crazy projects that, it's like, oh, it's a multi-billion-dollar metaverse with 8 people that actually are in, whatever the metaverse is, right? And, with Ergo, it's very grassroots, community driven. And I think that, as things evolve, I really hope to see a lot of the P2P tooling, adopted locally within, communities of people. It's ultimately like a conversion that's needed to where, blockchain, creates value, utility, improves, kind of the human finance off chain. I think that's the ultimate goal that we're working towards. If it just continues to be people trading online, and looking at kind of the numbers go up and down in their basement, and it doesn't really translate into real world financial improvement, I think to some degree, technology has failed. What's your take, Alex?
So actually, we published a roadmap back in 2020 when, the ecosystem was very small. So just maybe 3 or 4 ecosystem developers, right? So the very first developments by Ergo, then Ergodex, starting from the second half, and also a couple of other guys maybe. So then it was possible, MHS for sure, and Anons. So first Anon 47 or 48, and then Anon 2020. But aside of that, not much. So it was possible then to make a roadmap right by doing conversation. So currently, it's not quite possible to properly communicate with all the ecosystem projects, and roadmap now does not make sense. Right, so at some point we stopped to try to update it because, anyway, it's not quite possible, right, to outline it at this point, as ecosystem is now not so small to observe it.
All righty. Well, that's a really good question, I think, and it's always it's always something that I think about quite a bit. How do you gauge this, right? Because there are a lot of projects. They just want to be out there and they want to get more popular and they want to get more followers and they want to get more participants, and it's just not easy. It's not easy. There is no shortcut to that. You just need to put in the work and you just need to stick to it. And that's what we're doing with Ergo. All right. So This is actually a good question for Joe. Let me see. Where did I see that question? Yeah. So this is from Ergo Sigmanauts. So Joe, can you give the community some tips on how to take the high road when dealing with FUD or falsehoods? Yeah, and I mean, Joe, you are. I mean, you're a lot better at it than me. I'm a lot more, blunt and East Coast-ish about it. you're you're a lot more, you're a lot more calculated and just kind of straight, to the point, smack them down with facts type of guy. So why don't you tell them how it's done?
I guess you have to start with like a certain understanding that we live in a digital age where there's like an attention economy. Okay. And generally, like within the attention economy, people have a tendency to appeal to emotions, right? So you have a ton of people out there that are like, oh, I'm the hero, follow me and I'll lead you to the promised land, blah, blah, blah. And then you have the other ones that are like, constantly like victims, and you have a lot of people that swing back and forth, right? And that's exhausting. I can't keep up. In terms of like FUD, like fear, it's hard to work with people that are scared, right? It's like a hormonal human response. Uncertainty is you can work with that, right? If somebody's uncertain, it's a good time to have a rational discussion with them and talk about, facts, trade-offs, I guess reasoning and logic behind different choices that, let's say in terms of like Ergo, why it was designed the way it was designed. Doubt depends, right? It depends on the person, whether they really actually want to learn something or not. Sometimes that's the case. It's just not, right? It's more of like, I guess, maybe some people have a vendetta. Maybe some people just don't want to learn. So doubt depends. There's a lot of people out there that just like, I don't know, they live their life in all caps and like to retweet themselves, right? And those characters are hard to deal with. I think that at the end of the day, everybody has like limited time, limited energy, limited attention. And so it's a scarce resource. So you have to kind of be careful where you direct it. Otherwise, you basically get no return, or at least positive return in your life, right? So when you have people that are kind of just like naturally opposed, at some point, I guess you have to ask, are you wasting your time? I think that it's good to certainly explain, why things were designed the way they were. I think that in terms of like the neutral people, it's great to try to educate them, right? In terms of people that are supportive, I think there's a lot of people, and even within the Ergo community, that do a great job raising awareness. And sometimes it's good to collaborate, work together. We have a couple of social channels that, kind of help people refine how they communicate or learn about the protocol. But, when you just get into straight falsehoods and somebody, does not want to even question their own falsehood, let them be. I mean, there's no point. All you can do is just be rational and say, okay, you could use the example this week. We had like a video where someone was saying, Ergo is a scam because, XYZ. And, before, I even had a chance to really dig into it, the community was like, well, this is why there was that particular design decision. And they did a great job. I saw a Reddit thread that, basically covered every point. Now whether that will actually change anything for the, characters out there that are, spreading falsehoods, I have no idea. I don't care. Like, that's on them to learn or not learn.
Yeah, but you know what else? I mean, and you are right about that. And the community is very, they're very calm and to the point about really debunking this. But You know, from my end, I mean, look, I know it might seem a little petty, but to me, it's just look, you have to call out falsehoods, right? To me, if somebody's being deliberately deceptive and is going out there and fudding while all this information is available, and it was, and literally, you know, going out there making these claims, at least I'm the type of person that will confront them. And I will say that you are lying. You know, I won't just say, well, here's the information, you know, which is an absolutely a good way to go about it. And some people just say, well, no, this is the information that proves otherwise. But you also need to, it's kind of like drawing a line in the sand. You know, you are lying. And you should know this if you are going to go out there and make these claims. There's either two scenarios here. These are deliberate lies, and you have ulterior motives. That's why you're lying. Or two, you're not doing your research and not doing your job and going out there with false information. And neither of these are okay. Especially if you have a following. Especially if you have, viewership, which this person does. And yeah, I just think it's something that needs to be called out if somebody is like that, if somebody is out there actually creating content, not just some random person, you know, on Twitter or whatever, say, oh, you guys suck. Like, okay, well, no, we don't, but thanks for playing. I'm talking about somebody who's out there with, that actually has people that listen to him and any sort of a significant number. You're doing them disservice. And you're just being intellectually dishonest if you're out there doing this. And to me, somebody like that just needs to be told that. But that's just me. You know, it's not an across the board type of thing. But that's just the kind of person I am. So but you know, we could all use a little bit of that of the Joe thinking. You know, I see you out there, Joe. You know, you're just going to throw facts at him. You beat him up with facts.
Have a real discussion. You know, someone told me a long time ago that, you know, people throw shit at each other in this life, and it's more honorable to have shit on your shirt than shit in your hand.
Really?
Yeah. Hey, Alex,
okay.
What do you think about all of this?
Let's ask Alex.
But honestly, I've forgotten. So, what was the original question?
Oh, it has to do with dealing with FUD, falsehoods, and social media drama.
So mostly I'm ignoring it. Otherwise, it takes too much time. I mean, it's like the endless circle, right? So the more you are paying attention to it, the more thoughts will appear even. Right.
Yeah.
So the best thing is just continue to build, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way. That's a really good way to think about it. Well, anyway, I think we covered that subject good enough. So. Okay, well, we got a Rosenbridge question here, and I know we went over this a little bit, but I think it never hurts to kind of dig into this again. So why don't we start with you, Joe? So the To Do Things asks, what are potential use cases for the Rosenbridge that you think will be implemented in the future? So why don't you chime in on this, Joe?
Sure. Well, you know, I think that the first has to do with cross-chain liquidity. Then, you know, once you have like markets established in multiple places, it opens up the door to kind of like market making, where people have the ability to trade across markets and try to arbitrage, balance liquidity, profit, all that good stuff. there's a privacy potential as well. We have some native privacy features on Ergo that extend to every native asset. So, if you have a large enough locked, let's say, treasury on each chain, it does open privacy potential where, somebody could come onto the Ergo ecosystem, use some of our native tooling for privacy and, potentially, exit over time and, kind of obfuscate their holdings, which is kind of neat. Everything potentially becomes a privacy coin to some degree with that functionality. There's a lot of unique use cases that can be used as well in terms of potentially fundraising across multiple ecosystems. And, I think that, ultimately you'll see creativity come about. And the beauty of organic growth is it's hard to predict.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Organic growth is difficult to predict, and that goes back to Wendy Moon's question. It's just it is what it is. That's, I guess, for lack of a better word. So Joe, this is a very important question for you. So HQER asks, Joe, what oil product do you use for your beard? It glows quick, like it is. Is it Ergo? I lost you on the sound there, Joe.
I muted myself. Sorry. Time and a comb. That's it.
Wow. Not all of us can be this fortunate, Joe. Not, so some of us have to struggle. We have to pre-plan. We don't just comb and shower. There's other things that are involved for us to look human. But for Joe, it just happens. So yeah, I hope that answered your question, HQER. Joe that's just what he is. He just got the Grizzly Adams thing going, and he's out there, keeping you safe from bears. All right. Here's an interesting question as well from II Pod 2. Since more dApps are moving multi-chain, is there an existing dApp you would like to see on Ergo? Let's start with Alex. What do you think, Alex? What would you like to see on Ergo go multi-chain? Well, what would you like to see to go multi-chain to Ergo?
What would I like to see for multi-chain?
The question is, since more dApps are moving multi-chain, is there an existing dApp you would like to see on Ergo?
Oh, so from other chains, yeah, I don't know, honestly. So maybe some multi-collateral systems would be interesting, where you can have for example, you take an Ergo, right, on Cardano, maybe on Bitcoin, and use all of them as collateral in some protocol. But I'm not aware of anything like that. So then, yeah, I don't know actually. What could be interesting to see?
Well, okay. So what about you, Joe? What do you think?
One thing to keep in mind is that a lot of dApps are moving multi-chain because there's a lot of chains that run basically EVM, right? So it's very easy to be in multiple EVM systems. Now, if you're getting into extended UTXO, you kind of have to redesign them, right? So it's not quite as simple as porting to a new chain. There are a lot of interesting applications out there. I would say probably what would be a nice one that exists in EVM that would be cool to see kind of re-engineered into extended UTXO. Probably like some of the DeFi protocols, like Gearbox, it comes to mind, like something that gives users accounts and kind of just unique aggregators like that are pretty cool, in my opinion. But you can't just copy pasta that. You'd have to re-engineer it from the ground up.
And yeah, so true. So multi-chain currently mostly about executing EVM rights. Without really interesting ideas appearing due to multi-chain nature. Usually, so would be nice to see actually nicely working swaps finally in regards with UTXO chains, and maybe financial instruments, right? So if you have still not executed swap with Bitcoin, it can be used as kind of financial instrument, right? To use protocols on top of it. New financial instruments, but even in regards with simple UTXO swaps, not so much applications, nice and convenient ones I'm aware of.
I think building atomic swaps would also be pretty cool, seeing that adopted, built out on Ergo.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree that swaps would definitely be a very good, very good cross-chain, integration into Ergo so that we could utilize it. But again, it's very significant what you said, Joe, that it's not just a matter of, kind of porting things over. It's pretty intricate because of the different accounting models and different scripting languages and all these different things. So that's number one. And what you also got to consider is that while there's projects going multi-chain, quote unquote, I mean, a lot of this multi-chain traffic is driven it's not driven by, I guess, user need. I don't know what do you want to call it, versus. They're just getting money. Like, some chains will say, "Hey, move this over here as well. We'll give you money." And that's why these projects are going, quote unquote, multi-chain, even though the product market fit might not be there. So if one thing that I would like to see, if projects do go multi-chain to Ergo, that there really is a need for it. I mean, like what you're saying with atomic swaps, with swaps in general, that's something that I can see the need for. But at this point, it's kind of difficult for me to really say that, it would be cool to have this DApp on Ergo, simply because, so if you're bringing a DApp onto Ergo, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to bring the users onto Ergo. You're just only going to bring that DApp to Ergo, and in quite a few instances, you're actually going to have people from Ergo using the DApp, right? But it doesn't mean that people from other ecosystems are going to come to Ergo and use the DApp on Ergo. So I think that a lot of times that's going to be the case. And it is the case. It happens to, so some of these NFT projects I've seen that go, again, multi-chain, and they go and they mint on Polygon or whatever, and then they got success in, say, the Cardano ecosystem, but then they mint in Polygon and they can't sell any of these because it's a different type of ecosystem. It's a different type of user base. It's a different type of sentiment. And that's what you also got to understand, that also some of these communities were built up within a specific ecosystem. And if you take it and you just basically copy pasta that into another ecosystem, it doesn't mean that it's going to take it's going to take the magic with it. And so that's also something to keep in mind. That's, just from what I think about these kinds of things. What are your thoughts, Joe?
Well, I think oftentimes, you have to ask the question: does it come with a release of new tokens, right? Then I think just tends to be like fundraising. It's like scaling, right? In a way, there's a lot of talk in the crypto space about like, we need to scale, and the question is whether there's the demand to scale, right? There's no demand.
Yeah, exactly. It is. Yeah, they can go multi-chain, but is there? What's the point? What is the point? So you are using a DApp on ETH. It's a pain in the ass and it can get expensive, but it still works on there, right? So most of the time, you're just going to keep using it. I use USDC and I use ETH for transactions. I don't like it, but I do it whenever I can. I do transactions in Ergo, but that comes with its own limitations, as you know, because not everybody will accept SIG-USD versus like USDC or US whatever. Well, mostly USDC. So yeah. Is there a reason for it to scale or for it to go cross-chain aside from just a cash grab? And I just really haven't seen too many cases, or basically any cases, where I can truly say, this is definitely needed in this ecosystem. All righty, let's see what else we got. So Ergosphere asks, how are you planning to keep miners incentivized after emissions are over in about 20 years? Is storage rent and dust enough to keep the miners incentivized? Thank you for such great work. I think Alex might be a good man to start answering this question. What do you think, Alex?
We will start to see storage rent in practice in a few months. And it's hard to say how it will work in 20 years. So we did some modeling before the mainnet launch, and under some realistic assumptions, it could provide pretty good rewards, actually. But again, hard to say about 20 years. But on the other side, we thought about 8 years initially. Another thing to consider is how to distribute storage rent. So there are ongoing discussions about that, including a recent EAP by Hugin or Hujin. So the proposal is basically to create a contract and enforce miners to lock storage rents with this contract, and then the contract is distributing evenly, right? And we are discussing other options. So It could be used to prolong tail emission, but there is opposition to this proposal as well. So let's see. How to say how it will work in 20 years. But at least it's a better plan than the absence of storage rent, definitely. And there is also another component, so transaction fees, right? So, the future of Bitcoin, for example, is about transaction fees only, and also hard to say what will happen in 20 years with them. But hopefully the mining will be secured.
What do you think to add to that, Joe?
Sure. I think that you can look at storage rent, you can look at dust, but then you also have, kind of the fee market that's built into Ergo that you can't really forget about if you're talking about long-term in incentives. And, I tend to think that in time, the layer one will be more for settlement, right? And you'll probably have in 20 years, hard to predict where, technology will be at, but you may have new exotic layer twos that, have not even been invented today in terms of like the zero knowledge stuff behind it. And, if you have a vibrant ecosystem across layer twos, they're going to be kind of competing for fees for settlement on layer one. So there's an additional funding vector there that has to be considered. But how do you forecast 20 years in the future? I don't know. That's hard to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. All you can do is just put the techo in there, make sure that your assumptions are solid, and let things roll. And I mean, also, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, but I also think that Babel fees will play into the reward schemes nicely eventually when we have other tokens that are really strong in the ecosystem. They can be utilized for rewards and for incentives besides the base currency of Ergo. I think that
you have a lot of unique economic opportunities for miner-based DeFi that have not fully been realized, in my opinion. But I think with storage rent and, over time, that will kind of develop. We did see that to some degree on Ethereum, where, you had like MEV and Flash bots and kind of like extra, payouts to miners from the activity of mining pools. And that's probably another vector of revenue that really hasn't been built out or explored yet. And hopefully in 20 years, it's, pretty well matured.
So that's another interesting vector in incentivization of miners. So GetBlock had custom token emission contracts to reward miners. Some were quite popular even, and hopefully with Lithos, after Lithos launch, we will see more experimentation in that. And we can imagine actually a lot of options, especially talking about such time frame as 20 years. So for example, maybe miners will support some side chains, merged mine side chains, for example, getting rewards, not only in ERCs, but also in sidechain tokens. And so on. So actually, a lot of options on the table, known even now, and some were discovered, like those emission contracts by GetBlock guys. So, people in the community started to think about them. I don't know, since maybe late 2021 or something like that. So it's the idea less than 2 years old. So in 20 years there will be a lot of schemes providing additional incentives. I'm pretty sure about that.
All right. Well, I think I think we covered that, and actually, it's something that potentially we would be looking to explore with Palmyra. We're of course, we're looking into building a roll up to handle the throughput while we're utilizing Ergo, and so part of the roll up and other modules that we build, we're going to have an incentive structure that will be supported by a token that we're going to launch. So essentially, that might be something that we would explore, and maybe potentially later on down the line, the ecosystem can utilize the model that we built. Again, we're really early in this, and I'm not promising anything, but it's something that we've been talking about. So very exciting to be able to try and dig into this. Anyway, I think this is a good place to wrap it up for this week. So, thanks for joining, Alex. Thanks for joining, Joe. Thanks for showing us what a glorious beard looks like. I think you keep the community centered, keep the community, pillared with that. I wish I could do that. My mind grows all weird and gray now, and it makes me look like Gandalf. So, what are you going to do? I'm old. Anyway, all right, guys. Well, thanks a lot for listening or tuning in, and we will see you next week. Thanks for the questions, and so long.
Yeah, thank you for your questions, guys. Really interesting ones.
Always a pleasure.